Here's looking at you, Miss 20-something. The sweatpants supermodel with wavy hair and a broken heart. Somewhere between a missed call and a text sent to a ghost, you lost control. So you scroll through old photos looking for yourself and search for answers in Instagram captions. You replay conversations like cherished voicemails from grandma, hoping to learn the right words and the right time to say them. There's no map for growing up, for falling back in love, for feeling like a normal girl. So you follow the melody instead, channeling the chaos and the contradictions as your voice drifts through reverb and rim shots. Love can be stubborn, like dial-up internet on an old desktop computer. It can be inconvenient, like making plans with only a broken clock to guide you. But time still ticks on, so why not wait and see what the morning brings? Maybe tomorrow is the day you regain control. Because even when life feels like a tangled mess of missed calls and mixed signals, you're still the only one who can tell your story. Hi, I'm Isaac.
And I'm Julia.
We are friends, amateur musicians, and music lovers who believe that full albums are an art form all their own, greater than the sum of their parts.
This is For the Record, a podcast where we turn off shuffle, ditch the algorithm, and listen to one great album from start to finish.
Today, we're talking about 2017's Ctrl, the debut studio album from singer-songwriter SZA. We'll break down key themes, musical elements, history and context, and share our thoughts on the album. Julia, you know what this album makes me feel?
I'm afraid to know. What?
Kind of sexy. I've been listening to it all week, like vibing out to these lo-fi R&B tracks and SZA's voice, which is just like so acrobatic over, I don't know, beautiful production. And
I think if I had to pick two words to describe the album, it would be sexy and lo-fi, which you just mentioned.
There we go.
I think we can
just call it. We didn't even plan that. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Episode over.
Look, this album had me feeling myself. It's not perfect, but it was a great soundtrack for a good, sexy week.
I think 2025 is going to be SZA's year. She just won a Grammy.
Mazal tov.
She's in a well-received film. Her acting debut.
Getting strong reviews so far.
Yeah, currently certified fresh at, I think, 95%. Not that we really abide by Rotten Tomatoes, but still, other people do. And I'm kind of excited to see it. It's called One of Them Days with Keke Palmer. I think it's supposed to be funny.
I don't know, we're at kind of a turning point in her career where maybe a next phase is impending. The future looks bright, and it's a great opportunity for us to look back at the album that kind of kicked off her...
Yeah.
I don't know, her rising star.
Catapulted her to stardom, if you will. What was your first SZA song? Do you remember hearing her and thinking, oh my God, who is that?
I think I first remember hearing about her and thinking, who is that? I remember when this album came out because at the time my musical palette was a little bit more limited. I was still listening to a lot of white guy rock and roll and I don't know, not that I didn't dip into other genres here and there, but I don't know, I think I at first discredited it as something that I just wouldn't like. I think, I heard the hit singles on playlists and that my friends were playing, like Broken Clocks, Drew Barrymore, these songs that are, I don't know, still on repeat for a lot of people today. But I always have been aware of her, and I think it speaks to the pervasiveness of this album, certainly when it first came out, and as its legacy continues. I mean, a little tidbit about this album is that Ctrl broke Billboard's record for the longest charting album by a female artist, staying on the charts for over 5 years in the Billboard Top 200.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
People have not stopped listening to this album since it came out.
Oh, we're helping.
Yeah, we are helping. I did listen to this album extensively
so many times.
in preparation for this episode.
My first SZA song was Good Days. I don't know if you know that one. It was released as a single at the end of 2020, and I don't think I had heard Ctrl before, so I was maybe a latecomer to SZA, but I remember loving it immediately. I was so enchanted by her vocals and impressed with her lyricism and references. And then I realized I knew her voice because she'd been featured on a lot of other famous artists' music. So Kendrick Lamar, Rihanna.
Also with Doechii, who just won a well-deserved Grammy.
Yes.
And you and I were bumping out to their to their song together earlier today.
Yeah. Doechii just won Best Rap Album.
Shout out Doechii. something notable, she's only put out 2 albums thus far in her career, with a pretty notable gap between them. Like a lot of especially young pop-oriented artists, I think really when they come out, with a first studio album or they have big buzz, like they're more inclined to work quickly. Maybe the studios or the label are pushing them along more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it really feels like SZA is given, or at least takes and makes the case for taking her time between these albums. She works in between on these collaborations that, I don't know, brought her to your attention maybe before you had a sense of her as like a larger cohesive artist. But, even with the gaps in her albums, first of all, you can hear the care that goes into. I mean, her sophomore album is also
SOS.
Fabulous. She recently re-released that late last year with some new tracks and some new collaborations. So, it's clear that she really brings like great care and, I don't know, artistry to everything she does.
Absolutely. Maybe we should take a step back.
Yeah, let's do it.
Get into the roots, get into the root of it all.
Take it away.
So SZA's real name is Solana Rowe. She was born in Missouri, but grew up in Maplewood, New Jersey. Her name comes from what's called the Supreme Alphabet. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but essentially it's an Islamic idea where you give deeper meaning to letters based on God and religion. So behind each letter is a specific meaning. So the S stands for savior or self. The Z stands for zigzag zig, which I guess represents enlightenment and acknowledgement of oneself. And the A stands for Allah. SZA's father was Muslim, and so she grew up in a Muslim household. The rapper RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan also got his name from the Supreme Alphabet. And he actually ended up recording the trailer message for this album's release. So he had said, I'm not going to rap it. Yo, peace and blessings. My name is RZA from the almighty Wu-Tang Clan. I'm zoning in with my homegirl SZA, self-savior, zigzag zig, Allah. Yeah, I think you can take it that far, mama. You know what I mean.
I love that. Love the camaraderie between these, I don't know, 2 consummate artists who, aside from maybe certain influences and collaborators and whatever, they just, their names line up nicely. SZA and RZA.
It's perfect.
It's very sweet.
In terms of music, she dropped out of college to focus on her music career and first got attention through a series of EPs. One of her EPs has a song called Julia, which I think I sent you.
Named after you, obviously.
Yeah, of course. And she was the first female artist signed to Kendrick Lamar's Top Dog Entertainment, aka TDE.
The label that released Control eventually.
Yes.
And a big deal. Like you said, I mean, Kendrick Lamar was the biggest rapper in the world. Certainly among the most respected when she joined the label. And he was featured on some of her earlier work, even before she was, I don't know, putting out maybe what you consider like legitimate studio albums. I think another big moment for her was in 2016 when she co-wrote Rihanna's song Consideration on her album.
True.
Anti or Anti, depending on how you roll. But she had already gained industry credibility ahead of what was in effect her big breakout.
Yeah. And I think she had said in an interview once that moment with Rihanna, she thought was, going to be the height of her career. Actually, Control was supposed to be released by TDE in 2015. But there were a bunch of disagreements between SZA and the TDE execs, which delayed it by 2 years. And I heard that she had trouble picking what songs were going to go on the album. So TDE confiscated her hard drive during the album's recording because she couldn't decide on which songs she wanted on the finished album. And she had between 150 and 200 recorded.
That's kind of fucked up, TDE. I mean, look, it all worked out for all of them. I'm sure everyone is happy with the album they put out, but damn, also 150 plus songs, like that's prolific. But she really takes her time between albums. I mean, as we've seen, even just with her first 2 studio releases, like the time between Control and her follow-up SOS, I think was 5 years. Not a guarantee that a new hot up-and-coming artist is going to be given that much time to really
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, toil over an album and make it perfect. So clearly she brings a lot of vision and motivation to these albums and really takes her time, and it shows in the work.
So what other music was coming out in 2017?
Some real good stuff. I mean, her TDE comrade Kendrick Lamar put out Damn,
Oh,
which I believe is
my favorite Kendrick Lamar album.
There we go.
That's correct. And the reason why I bought this record player that we have here in the studio.
We're looking at it now, folks.
My big fancy record player, because I bought this record, Kendrick Lamar's Damn, and it was too heavy to play on my little Crossley. So I bought an entirely new fancy record player sound system in order to play this one record.
And look at you now, talking about it on a podcast.
Here we are.
Lorde put out Melodrama, her, I believe, sophomore album.
I think so.
Tyler, the Creator, put out Flower Boy, which is, I think, comparable to SZA and to Ctrl specifically, maybe not in terms of the sound, but just as an artist from, you know, a genre where artists, especially Black artists, tend to be pigeonholed, and really breaking down those barriers, something that crosses genres and is very inventive. So it was a really good year.
NPR actually ranked Kendrick's and SZA's albums as 1 and 2 of the year, respectively.
Shout out TDE.
Yeah.
Like we said, big year for them. And
talent recognizes talent.
Kendrick Lamar also won a Pulitzer Prize for that album. So, and then amid all of these stellar albums was Bruno Mars's 24 Karat Magic.
That is also
winning
an album.
Album of the year from the Grammys.
Okay.
Can't say I agree
It's
that
it's not
is
better
the
than
best,
this album.
but
Well,
it's fun.
I don't know.
I got respect for Bruno,
Yeah. I
but
think we can just move on.
he's no SZA.
He's no SZA. I think we should get into the music.
Yeah, let's dive in. Something that was notable to me as I listened to this album more
Over
and
and over.
was just, I mean, even on the first track, drums or any sort of beat don't come in until like the last 30 seconds. And for what you might consider a hip hop album, it's an interesting choice. You know, I think hip hop is really built around drums, beats in general. And the album opens with these kind of soft, hazy acoustic guitar strums that set a tone for an R&B album that's not necessarily like what you expect R&B to sound like. I mean, there's neo-soul influence, obviously some hip-hop and classical R&B, but also something more jazzy, stripped down, lo-fi production, makes for something unique. And that tone that it sets in the very first song, I think, persists throughout the album.
Yeah. So the first track on the album is Supermodel. And I think it's a really special song. The song itself is about being out of control. It's sort of a hate track towards an ex. I feel like the erratic percussion on this just also feels a little bit out of control. You know, like there's not one driving beat to the song. It's super freestyle. I just think that that's her approach. You know, I think when she was making this album and her previous work, she mostly just freestyles, and if it sticks, it sticks. And that's like her approach to music making. And she said it's because of her ADHD, but I just think, I don't know.
It's just the way her talent manifests.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I mean, you're right that certainly through this first song, it almost sounds like she's chasing that beat that you don't get until the very end. Like you hear there's some cymbal splashes and you can like sense a drum kit in the room, but she's chasing after the groove a little bit, trying to like regain control of the song as she's singing, like you said, these meandering melody lines. They don't necessarily fit into what you'd call, I don't know, traditional pop hooks or melodies.
Yeah. Not verse A, verse B, chorus, bridge. You know,
it makes for a very, it's part of what makes this album so distinct for sure. And I don't know, her vocal style is sometimes a little bit raspy. Sometimes it almost feels more like melodic rapping than singing. There's a raw emotional delivery to this sort of stream of consciousness, ADHD quality that these lyrics have as she delivers them.
Yeah. She said in an interview with GQ that she was really worried about this song specifically because it was so different than her other music, which I guess is what she had been signed for and what she'd been putting out and why people liked her. So when she finished this song, she sent it to the meanest person she knew to get feedback first before sharing it with anyone else. And of course they liked it because it's a great song. And then it ended up becoming her favorite song from the album.
I want to know who's the meanest person she knows.
I'd like to know also.
And is it someone we would know? Not personally, but by name.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like an industry friend or she didn't name anybody. She didn't name names. She wasn't
Probably
starting
for the
drama
best.
in the interview.
Probably for the best.
But what I thought was really interesting about the lyrics is that the song ends with a bunch of I need statements. And when you're feeling really out of control and spiraling, I think it's easy to like hyperfixate on like what you need in that moment, like what's going to help you, what's going to fix things. And then the very start of the next song, and this is through and through one of the most like cohesive albums I've listened to in a long time. But what I think is so fascinating is the end of Supermodel finishes with a bunch of I need statements. And then the next song starts with Travis Scott giving like an I need kind of an echo to what she was saying in Supermodel. And I just thought that was really interesting. It stood out to me.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think you and I noted as we were listening to this album in preparation that there's a sense where you sort of lose track between one song and the next.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because the songs feel similar. It's more because of the structure of each song in and of itself and how she lines them up in the album. There's this sense where it's one idea flows into the next, and the music has such a distinct and confident sound that never loses sight of, I don't know, its core features, even as the songs change. I mean, there was the end of the song, The Weekend,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little pause and there's a
Yes.
very distinct like African style drumming break that I absolutely loved.
Me too.
And every time I was listening to it, like the
I
first
thought it was
several
a new
times,
song.
yes, the first
Yes.
several times I listened to it, I was like, I thought it was a new song. And then when I was going back to try and like find specific songs to talk about, I like clicked and listened to the beginning of every song. And I was like,
You
did I
couldn't find
imagine
it?
this? Why can't I find this?
It's such
intro
a
to the
fun
song.
beat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it I don't know, it's almost like it's messing
Bright
with you.
ideas. We got bright ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like teasing you
Mm-hmm.
with the way its ideas are fractured but also persist between songs, and it's why this album rewards a full listen. As much as a lot of these songs are great singles,
Mm-hmm.
like what we're here on this podcast to do is look at the album on a whole, and this album lends itself well.
I know that a lot of the singles, I think there were 5 singles released before the album came out, and they all went double platinum and, you know, were not overplayed, but very popular. But for me, none of them really work as singles. And I don't know that I would ever want to just put on one. I almost feel like I have to listen to them in order. Do you think it's fair to say that the first, like, there's 14 songs, right? Do you think it's fair to say that the first 7 songs are about like vulnerability, insecurity, toxic relationships, and then in the second half it sort of shifts and she's sort of facing like acceptance, reflecting on growth, and it's sort of, you can just trace the like losing control, out of control, understanding what it means to have control, regaining control, like throughout the whole album.
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about the narrative flow of the album like that. I mean, I had picked up on all of those ideas as I listened through it and read through the lyrics, but I think you might be right that it has both musically and thematically that sense of regaining control, which is what the album is all about. And obviously it manifests in stories through relationships and self-doubt and body image and self-esteem, but they all kind of converge at this point where it's, you know, from the very beginning where she's chasing that drum beat and is losing control, like through the end where she's coming to peace with her 20-something stage of life.
Yeah. The last 2 songs are very peaceful, I must say.
Agreed.
Pretty peaceful. I think we could speak about the bookend samples of the album. Like, speaking of control, the album opens with a sample from her mother saying, "That is my greatest fear, that if I lost control or did not have control, things would just, you know, I would be fatal." And it sort of starts off the album in a really serious, kind of remorseful, sad tone. And I remember thinking that Supermodel felt like a sad song to me. But I wouldn't say the album itself is sad necessarily. It's definitely lo-fi.
Stripped down.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at the very end of the last track, 20 something, her mother, I think, completes the quote and says, "And if it's an illusion, I don't want to wake up. I'm going to hang on to it. Because the alternative is an abyss. It's just a hole, a darkness, a nothingness. Who wants that, you know?" So that's what I think about Control, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And then SZA says, "That was beautiful, mommy. That was perfect." And they both laugh, and it's
very
cute.
Sweet. It's very charming. Yeah. You know, it starts maybe with a cautionary note from one of these, from her mother, and it ends with something more hopeful about that acceptance. As I listened to this album more and more, I found it to be like a real coming of age
absolutely
album. It's whether all these songs are, I don't know, about the same people or all about her. If you think of her as the central character of this arc that you laid out before, you can feel her maturing and confronting what it means to grow up to be a 20-something, you know, who's maybe the biggest problem is that you're only I don't know, the weekend booty call, and it feels very significant at the moment, but you also have your future to look ahead to, and I don't know, bigger changes coming, more control to lose and regain.
Maybe that brings us into themes.
Yeah, let's touch on a few. I think we've covered some of the big ideas, but we can rattle off a couple more.
I think it would be silly to repeat Control because we get it.
It's in the name,
It's
guys.
in the name. I put Insecurity. I know it's a big umbrella, but I feel like SZA really rains it down on us, especially in the first half of the album. And it's not just insecurity in relationships. It's like friendships and her own personal timeline. Is life getting away from her? What is she doing with her life? Just the everyday insecurities that all of us face in our 20s. Kind of just laid out in a couple of different scenarios.
I mean, I also wrote Insecurity along with Self-Esteem and I don't know, maybe the lack thereof or sort of regaining that.
I think Drew Barrymore is a good example.
Yeah, I mean,
on the album.
A lot of the songs are her kind of grappling with her self-worth in relation to other people.
Yeah, other women, comparing herself.
The men she's dating or not dating.
Right. I also had Toxic Relationships. So that's, Love Galore, Travis Scott, about emotional unavailability, The Weeknd, where she's the side chick. I feel like that was a little controversial when it came out, kind of like glorifying being the other woman.
Yeah, it did spark some debates on social media about whether it was a song glorifying infidelity or polyamory. And I think SZA clarified that it's just meant to depict complicated relationships,
Yeah.
Not to glorify any sort of approach to love or sex, but just kind of, I'm sure based in some personal experiences, like a reflection on that messiness of, being someone in an age where, maybe you're not quite ready to be married, but you also don't want to be cast aside or to be the number two.
20s, it's a messy time. Relationships are messy in your 20s. I guess maybe just in general.
Yeah.
But I think particularly
when you're a 20-something.
When you're a 20-something. The uncertainties of young adulthood.
Amen. We all have them.
Shall we get into categories?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this was impossible for me. I'm just going to say that. I don't know how well you did because we haven't talked about it yet, but this was really hard for me to choose a favorite or a least favorite of literally anything.
Yeah, I've struggled, and it was almost equal parts because I really love a lot of the songs on the album and because, like you were saying, they're better together. Like, it's not, I don't think of it as a collection of singles in the way that some, I don't know, great albums are or great artists choose to release music. But even just the fact, like, I wouldn't choose The Weeknd as my favorite song, but I might, if I could tack that little, African drumming at the end onto the beginning of the next song, maybe I would choose that. So it was hard in that sense because they're so fluid and cohesive.
But also, like, within the songs, the rhythm will change. And sometimes there'll be a shift and it'll become a totally new song. Like some songs I would listen to the beginning and be like, ooh, this one's not my favorite. And then it would get to the part that I really like. And then I just would be so into it. But just that part at the beginning, I guess that could be true of any song. But because the way that she writes music isn't that typical pop platform of, A, B, C, you never really know where the song is going.
Totally. That being said, Julia, we got to make some decisions.
Okay.
So
You're
what
here
you
to
going to
hold me
say?
accountable.
Yeah. I'm here to regain control of this podcast.
Okay. Because I'm losing it. I guess I would say my favorite song is 20 something, maybe honorable mention Prom or Pretty Little Birds. I don't know. I don't know.
They're all good out.
It's impossible. I named those. I don't know. I guess I should stick to it.
Stick to them.
Yeah.
I have my song as Broken Clocks, which maybe I actually should have brought up earlier when you asked me about my first SZA song. I don't think it was the first one I heard per se, but it's the one that I knew the best.
Hers.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Before I sort of got to know her better as an artist, that was the one that was like on my radar, and it still does it for me. I think also because the theme is even broader than a lot of these albums, which are very specifically about womanhood and that aspect of relationships. Like I think Broken Clocks is more just about
interesting.
losing time and
Yeah.
I don't know, feeling yourself age, which
right.
you know, your 20 somethings is when you start to confront that. And I don't know, that aspect of it spoke to me. But I did also have Prom as an honorable mention and Doves in the Wind because I like the Kendrick of it all.
Oh, right.
And it's got some fun lyrics.
We're not going to
we'll
read
get to
them.
later. Yeah, we're not going to read them.
It's
just don't trivialize is all I'll say.
Actually, I mean, they're all marked explicit, but that's a more so explicit one.
Yes.
Also, what I think is interesting about Doves in the Wind is to me, it sounds like a Kendrick song that just happens to be on this album. I actually find it less cohesive with the flow. Thematically, it fits, but music-wise, to me, it sounds like his production, not her production.
Interesting.
Like some of the other songs
I'll
on this
buy it.
album sound like you're in a video game.
It's that lo-fi.
Yeah.
Some of them almost have like an 80s synth beat.
Exactly.
To
like at the beginning
them
of Garden, you could literally be in it kind of feels like you're Alice in Wonderland, you know, falling through this, I don't know, tunnel.
Yeah, or you're stuck in one of the broken, outdated PCs
That's on the
in a
album
pile
cover.
behind her on the album cover. Yeah.
Right. But that's interesting. Okay, so wait. Did we pick favorite songs? We did.
We did.
Okay, moving forward, least favorite song.
I wrote down Anything.
That's what I wrote down.
Which...
But it's not fair because then it gets to the part that I really love where she says, "Do you know I'm alive?" over and over again. And it just, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike this song. It was just the one that, I don't know, stuck out as my least favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Less so because I don't like it, more so because it didn't stick out as one of my favorites.
I think I liked the beginning of it the least. Maybe it's fair to say. But I don't know, Go Gina is not one of my favorites. I think the problem is all the lyrics are so painfully relatable that when she gets to a part where I just have to go, oh, yeah, then it makes me think, oh, wait, so I don't not like this song.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
This is a recurring theme on a lot of these episodes for us is I don't know. I should just reiterate that least favorite song doesn't mean we dislike it or that it's a bad song.
Yeah.
So don't come for us, listeners.
I did try to find one I didn't like. And there are some where I couldn't remember what they were, and then I put it on and I thought, oh yeah, it's this one.
But I think like you were saying, like I would almost say there are parts of this album that I don't like, but not any songs that I don't like.
Yes, agree.
And it fits into that. It fits into what we're saying, the fact that these songs are constructed from maybe more unique and distinct parts than typical pop music. They have, I don't know, they sort of change character throughout over the course of a song in a unique way, in a way that on a whole makes this album really wonderful, but also means there's like pockets and moments that don't work as well. And then in the same song, you can have, I don't know, a hook that she repeats over and over that just like hits you. And it's cool.
Bright ideas. I've got bright ideas.
Amen.
All right. So favorite lyrics, literally another impossible task because they're all insanely on point and relatable, but hit me with your best shot.
It's hard to pick. I mean, this album is so lyrically dense because of her stream of consciousness,
freestyle,
songwriting, song spewing
Every
style.
song is a poem, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes just none of the lyrics repeat themselves at all. Some of them don't have choruses.
Or fully rhyme.
The titles of the tracks don't come from the lyrics necessarily. Sometimes she just names the track the message she was trying to get across.
It's very organic and has an energy to it. I mean, I love the opening words of the album. I'm writing this letter to let you know I'm really leaving, and no, I'm not keeping your shit. Heard you got some new homies, got some new hobbies, even a new hoe too. I mean, it really sets the scene. It's all about getting burned, moving on. It's the first of who knows how many spoiled relationships she's gonna bring up over the course of this album. I'm just gonna give one honorable mention: "Doves in the Wind" featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
There's one part.
Do I need to bleep any of this out?
I mean, maybe. Whatever. After Kendrick's lovely verse, SZA chimes in with, "You can never trivialize pussy."
You cannot.
And yeah, that's another aspect of this album. Whatever. That one line captures something about the themes and ideas in this album. I also just love the little riff she sings over that. Like there's something about "you can never trivialize." I won't say it again, but
copyright.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's fun that this album can have kind of tongue-in-cheek, like dirty lines about whatever, sex and parts, but also have this looping sort of freeform poetry that we really love about it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of my favorite lyrics are openers from different songs. If I had to pick one as my absolute favorite, I like the opener from Pretty Little Birds featuring Isaiah Rashad. And she says or sings, "You are but a phoenix among feathers. You're broken by the waves among the sea. And they'll let you die, they'll let you wash away, but you swim as well as you fly."
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Poetry.
Yeah. I guess honorable mention goes to a line from Drew Barrymore. "You came with your new friends and her mom jeans and her new Vans, and she's perfect and I hate it."
I flagged that one too.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's a good line.
Yeah. It's a great line.
I mean, all her lines are great.
She blends very colloquial phrases and trivial imagery with, I don't know, these kind of meandering melodies, and it's a blending of high and low that makes it feel so personal, because it doesn't feel like she's writing poetry necessarily or trying to come up with some like heady, beautiful line, but it just the way she delivers these lines.
It's just so honest.
It's so honest. Yeah.
Hope you never find out who I really am, because you'll never love me. I'm sorry. She said that.
Whoa.
Can
you road trip to this album, Julia?
I think for me, no. I think I would I'd be zoned out.
I agree with you.
Okay.
For the same reasons.
Yeah. It's too lo-fi for me to drive to, I think. I usually need more of a beat to keep me going.
Mm-hmm.
What's your karaoke song?
I'd say Drew Barrymore or Broken Clocks.
Okay.
Either or.
Because Broken Clocks the best?
Yes. I also think like Broken Clocks especially has more of like a hook that I could see myself belting. All I got is these broken. To be fair, all of these songs would be really difficult to do in karaoke.
Really difficult. I was thinking that the whole time.
Because she has almost like a jazz singer quality where she's just like, the chord changes are simple.
Yeah.
And she's running all over them with different cadences and melodies. And it would be hard to do it justice.
It would be really hard, impossible, unless you knew it, like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
I picked Prom because it felt more singable to me, as I am not a rapper, but I also think no one would recognize it if I did pull this out of karaoke. I don't know. It couldn't be imitated.
This exercise is like, okay, gun to your head, you got to do a SZA song for karaoke,
you're
but
right.
like
I'm overthinking it. I'm losing control again.
We're not gonna. Come on, Julia, get back on track. Rein it in.
All right, what are you drinking while listening to this album?
I think it's just a glass of red wine and a good cry about.
Okay, I know that's what you were doing while you were drinking.
A lost lover.
Didn't need to know. TMI, Isaac.
Look, there's a lot I don't understand about womanhood, but I know a thing or two about heartbreak,
Yeah, okay.
I've had my ups and downs as a 20-something.
Yeah, you may not have needed to shave your legs, but you get it.
No, I have had to shave my back a couple times.
Okay. That's also TMI.
You can cut that if you'd like.
Oh, no. Everyone has to know that now if I have to know. I picked flavored seltzer.
Cute.
I just thought, a little bubbly, sweet, refreshing, and also lo-fi. To me, flavored seltzer just kind of like is lo-fi. Like, the fancy ones that come in little cans.
Yeah.
That, exactly.
I can hear the
Yeah.
crack and carbonated sizzle,
Mm-hmm.
like playing under
Sizzle.
a lo-fi beat. Yes, sizzle. Nice. Well done. Okay, cool. Should we wrap this up and give it a rating?
Well, upon release, Control was a massive critical and commercial success. Nominated for 5 Grammys the year that this came out.
Damn.
Well, SZA was nominated for 5 Grammys, including Best New Artist. And she was the most nominated female artist at the 2018 Grammy Awards.
Hell yeah.
But despite the multiple nominations, she did not win.
Aw. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. Look, we love getting wrapped up in award shows, but I also feel like we toggle between genuine frustration with them and being like, it's dumb, it doesn't mean anything, time will tell. And I think with SZA, like, time told. It stayed on the Billboard charts for 370 plus weeks. Like, that's crazy. It doesn't need
fast math from you.
No, I had that written down.
Oh, okay.
Because
the expression on your face was like counting.
No, math is one of my weakest cognitive functions.
I see. What's your rating of the album?
So I think I've bumped it up since we started.
Okay. Well, so what was your initial rating? Oh, do you mean recording this podcast? Like in the last 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had it at a 7.
Okay.
But I think that was just more out of personal preference.
Okay.
That it wasn't higher. And I think now I would bump it up to like a 7.5, maybe an 8, because I don't know. Not that my understanding of the album has changed so much. I just feel like talking through some of these ideas, I really have that much more respect for
this out in real time.
Yeah, I have that much more respect for this album as a really, I don't know, thoughtfully constructed, like cohesive, greater than the sum of its parts piece of work, and just for SZA as an artist in general, who has big things coming. Watch this space.
I wrote 7.5 or 8.
Yeah.
At its heart, Control is about seeking control in a world that feels uncontrollable. Like you're constantly surrounded by situations you can't control. Also, she finds moments of self-assurance, and I think that's that journey that I spoke about. But the reason that this resonates is because it's so honest, unfiltered, relatable, and it just captures, for me, like the messy contradictions of modern womanhood, which I can speak on as a modern woman, and young adulthood, as I was also once a young adult. And I think it made it really special.
I think we should leave it at that.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to For the Record.
You can find us on Instagram at for_the_record_podcast.
Our Instagram also has a link where you can submit any albums you'd like to hear us cover in the future.
We can't promise we'll get to all of them, but we'll take everything into consideration.
You can also shoot us an email at 4 as in the number, D as in the letter, recordpodcast@gmail.com. That's 4D recordpodcast@gmail.com.
And give us a follow and a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. And remember to tune in next week for a brand new episode.
We'll see you there. Let me just add in that.
Okay. Man has to have the last word.
I once dated a girl from Maplewood, New Jersey.
Oh, did you? Was it SZA?
No, I
Because
wish.
I think she did Drake, but apparently that's a secret.
It's safe with me.
Okay.
No.
Well, your
shout
secret
out
is safe with me.
to my ex. She's engaged to be married soon. So
do you want to name her?
No, I don't.
Okay. On that note.